Hello and welcome to this monthly Art World webinar video recap. My name is Susan Mumford. I'm founder of Be Smart About Art, and today we have with us Marcus McAllister, an artist from the States who lives in Paris. So the focus of this particular session is indeed looking at the artist-gallerist relationship, with the theme of this talk being "Don't Bite the Hand that Feeds You." And that's a relationship that goes both ways. So it's not just the artist not biting the hand of the gallerist, but also the gallerist not biting the hand of the artist. So this is an incredibly important aspect to having a successful partnership in the art world in terms of those professional relationships. Before we delve into the topic, Marcus, I'd love to hear a few words from yourself about who you are.
Okay, well, hi, I'm Marcus McAllister. I'm a full-time professional artist, originally from the United States, from Arkansas. Have been living in Paris for almost 20 years now, over 18 years, making my way as a painter. So
there we are.
There we are.
And here you are in London with us today. It's lovely to have you. So Marcus, I've got 5 kind of key areas to consider with this concept of don't bite the hand that feeds you. And the first one is that I know you are a very big proponent of it all being about a partnership. Tell us about that concept.
And it's the fundamental, when we've talked about this sort of thing, the fundamental idea, I think, is that, like any human relationship, it's all about partnership. It's all about working together and working so that everybody is being fed.
Okay.
So not eating each other, but working together to get to where everyone wants to get goals met. I think that has to happen by collaboration. So, and that's across the board, human endeavors, and it doesn't change. The art world is not some special place that that's different. It really is it works by partnership.
And that's an excellent point, because so many people think, even if they come from the corporate world or something, they think, oh, different rules apply to the art world because it's this magical different place.
No, that isn't, I think, is very, it's kind of a myth of, oh, creatives and all this, but no, it's still human relationship, human creativity, human communication, and it's all about partnership.
And it's two-way.
It's
not that one is above the other.
Well, and that's what a partnership is about. Collaboration is about 2 people, both of whom bring something to the table and to work together.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Excellent. Now, the second point is about the expectations. It's setting and managing those. So tell us about that.
I think that's the most, something very important in having a good partnership is know what to expect. And part of knowing what to expect is, this is kind of fundamental, communication. And that's both parties talking to each other, not one party waiting for the other to say, jump.
Absolutely.
And I always talk about the many people that I've worked with over years, agents, gallery people, to do an art career, you have to have so many partners, so many actors involved, because we can't do everything. And so much of working together is trying to figure out what everyone's goals are so that we can harness our energies towards mutual goals. That doesn't mean one person has to do everything for the other person. It means that we're working together. And sometimes things end up in different directions. I want to go here, they want to go here. Well, so we figure out goals that work together, because it never works to have somebody, if you're trying to go here and they're trying to go here, and they're going, well, we'll help you go this way for a bit, they're eventually going to go back. That's just human nature.
And so it's meeting halfway.
Meeting halfway and finding out what works together.
Yeah. And presumably, if their goals are so different, it may not work.
It may not work. And that's something else. That's part of having a good partnership, is knowing this partnership isn't viable for whatever reason, not because of necessarily negative reasons. So sometimes it's just timing, or we've got different things we're working on. There's some gallery people I've worked with. There's a gallery that I've worked with for 15 years in Marseille. The past few years I haven't done very much with him. He's been going more toward outsider art, which isn't necessarily what I do. And so because that's where he is and that's what he's been working on, we've kept in contact, and I know there's stuff down the road that will happen.
No bridges burned.
No bridges burned, and he's here. My research is going this way, so there's a time when that's
absolutely fine. That is the nature of these professional relationships. Now, the third point is looking into how this concept of not biting the hand that feeds you, how it goes both ways. So for the artist and for the gallerist, would you tell us a bit about how that works?
Well, because I think it is important. Sometimes, I know from the artist side, sometimes artists are like, oh, I need a gallery.
Dun, dun.
Well, it's kind of my classic story. A friend that, this is how this whole talk started, with a friend that I realized in a conversation, she was just expecting a gallery to come riding up on the white steed to take her to the castle and happily ever after. And it doesn't work like that. That's just unrealistic.
Yeah.
And so artists they don't need to be like, oh, waiting for someone to come pick them. Pick me, pick me. And then, but at the same time, I think it comes down to galleries need artists because they need art.
Yeah.
Artists need galleries because otherwise we're left doing everything. And there's so many skill sets involved in a professional career that you can't master everything, and it's good to have help.
That's right. And I mean, I think finishing off that point, gallerist Francesca Fumano of Fumano Fine Art said not long ago at a Be Smart About Art event that the number one most important person for her is the artist, and it has to be. Everything needs to be focused on that person. So the fourth point then is thinking about when you're just starting that working relationship.
So, just go back a second, because I'm just having a thought.
Backtracking
a little bit, the idea of the artist being the important person. That's true to a certain extent, but I think artists shouldn't get in their head that because they're the important one, they become the top of the heap. And the gallery people are supposed to be like, ooh, that doesn't help getting everybody fed.
Yeah, and I think in fact the context of that statement was with a room full of emerging art dealers.
Right.
And they might be thinking purely about the client because they're at that stage where they're not selling enough to really be making a living.
I think that's an important
and that's
context.
a challenging point.
Between clients and artists, that's the thing. And what we're talking about between the gallery people and the artists, those two worlds. Yeah. There can't be one on top with their slaves.
It's sort of equal. It's a partnership.
It's a partnership. It's a collaboration. It's partnership. That's fundamental.
Great.
So.
And then going to point number 4 then is looking at when you are first starting to work with somebody, how you can do that without committing too much. Over to you.
Communication. I mean, a lot of times the question comes up about exclusivity.
Right.
I think that's something. I've actually never been with a gallery that had exclusivity because I've never had a relationship with a gallery where that seemed appropriate. I've had gallery people that we wanted to work together, and right from the get-go they were demanding exclusivity, and I've generally said no because I had other things going on, and that would actually just be a limitation. Yeah. And I can understand the logic because the gallery person is developing a lot of time or spending a lot of time and energy on an artist and their work, their career. They don't want to bring somebody up to have them go away because it has to be both ways.
And that's you thinking about their position. But at the same time, if they can't support you, if they can't give you a stipend, then how are you to live?
Exactly. It has to be on both ways. That's where I think I wouldn't be against exclusivity. If I were with a gallery, and I have many galleries I work with, different agents, galleries at different levels, if I had one gallery that suddenly was taking up and needing so much of my work and selling it, and that sort of, there would be risks with that as well, because you're setting yourself up to be with one person. So I guess it's like in any relationship, romantic, professional, it's a question of trust.
Yeah.
So.
And when you first start out, probably wanting to see how you work together and how it's going, as opposed to going straight into a relationship in which you're so committed. And you need to see that you can both deliver for the other.
Both can deliver for the other, where it works. I mean, there have been galleries that I really liked the work, they've liked mine, we haven't worked together because they didn't have a spot for me in what they were doing. So it's a question of making it fit, and then it takes time for that. Yeah. It takes time to build trust, it takes time to build a relationship, it takes time to build a body of work, it takes time to build a reputation. All of that is organic, all that takes time, and it's bit by bit. And I think not only is there collaboration, but even before that, all partners, all actors in these kind of things need to figure out what they want.
Yes.
Need to figure out what they're doing.
Yes. And that goes back to that goal setting point, I think. Now, the 5th point is looking at the challenges that happen in these relationships and how those could in fact be helpful. What are some thoughts on what that does for a working relationship between yourself and a gallerist?
I mean, it's the difficult moments when you have to communicate. So it's important to step forward and talk about things. And it's not a question of waiting for the one or the other, and we've talked about that before in the full discussion. It's not the artist who's waiting for the gallery person or vice versa. You're not supposed to like gun for the others, look for them and hunt them down. It's got to be a communication. It's got to be a conversation. You've got to take into account people are people with their lives and their interests. I think the challenge is communication, and that actually happens when there's difficulties.
Yeah.
It's when there's a problem. I talked about when I had some people from the United States they were in Paris, wanted to come to the studio, and I knew them through the gallery I worked with, through a gallery I worked with in Arkansas. They came to the studio, bought up some pieces, and my first impulse was then to contact the gallery to say what happened.
Right.
And I remember saying, how do you handle this? And the gallery had a system in place for commissions and that sort of thing, and to move forward from there with that sort of thing. And so we got to talk about it. It was not a problem because we talked about it.
Well, you were being professional, I would argue.
And that's part of the challenges of that is to be professional, to think about it, and try to leave space for everybody. I mean, it's really hard. I mean, the art world is really hard. Life is hard. That's a good thing too. But it's really difficult, and it's sometimes, with the crisis of the past few years, everybody's on edge because it's not an easy road. But it just makes it harder when you're like shooting your partners in the foot.
Well, and if you're working with them and you recognize that you're both experiencing similar things, then that enables creativity, collaborative ideas, all kinds of things. And so that can generate new happenings, exactly. I would say.
And then building together. I have seen so much over my career, how much gallery people that are in the same position as the artist, they're building their reputation.
Yeah.
They're making connections. They're trying to show, they don't have necessarily works that they're showing, but their work is showing that they've got an eye and a connection and a certain savvy.
And they went into it because they love working with artists.
Exactly.
No, Marcus, I think that was a really excellent overview, so thank you for that. I would love to have you tell the audience as well how they can keep up to date with your work and your practice, and what do you have in your lab?
I always have the sketchbook. Fundamental part of my practice is a sketchbook discipline. Always have a sketchbook on me. They tend to be a little more elaborate than just rough sketches because they become works in themselves. People can see this on my website, www.marcusmcallister.com, or on my Facebook page, which would be Artwork of Marcus McAllister. So
excellent. So stay in touch with Marcus. Look at the website. And definitely like his page on Facebook. And needless to say, we look forward to seeing you at other Be Smart About Art World webinars in terms of the video recaps and the full versions as well. And be sure to keep up to date with us on Twitter at Be Smart About Art. Signing off from London, and thank you.
Bye-bye.